What is happiness? Is it possible to stay happy no matter the circumstances? If you want to learn this magic, watch this video till the end. By the time it's over, you'll understand how to unlock the magic of happiness. Once upon a time in a small village, there lived an elderly woman. She was kind, wise, and always cheerful. Almost everyone in the village loved her deeply. People would often come to seek her advice or share their troubles. One day, a young man from the village asked her, "Mother, I've always seen you smiling no matter what. How do you stay happy even when things aren't going well? Don't you ever feel sad when things go wrong?" The elderly woman smiled and gently replied, "My child, life is never the same. There are ups and downs. Some days are good and some days are bad. But I've learned that happiness isn't tied to these days. Happiness comes from within, not from the things around us." The young man was surprised and said, "But how can you be happy when things are bad?" "I don't understand." The woman smiled again and said, "Let me tell you a story from my own life. When I was young, I had a lovely home, a family, my husband, and children. We weren't very rich, but we were happy. But then, a time came when my husband fell ill. We didn't have much money, but we tried everything to get him treated. Sadly, he didn't recover, and one day, he passed away. That was the saddest day of my life. It felt like my whole world had fallen apart. I cried so much, and I thought I would never be happy again." The young man listened closely as the woman continued, "But after some time I realized that crying and staying sad wouldn't bring my husband back. My children were small, and they needed me. I had to find a way to live for them, and most importantly, I had to find a way to be happy." She paused and then said, "I started looking at life from a new perspective. I realized that life brings both good and bad moments, but I made a decision. I wouldn't let the bad times steal my happiness." The young man was intrigued. "But how did you do that?" he asked. The elderly woman smiled and said, "Every morning when I wake up, I tell myself, today is a new day. There will be good things and bad things, but today I will look for the happiness in it, and I always find something. Even on tough days, I find something, no matter how small, that brings me joy. Maybe the sun is shining, or a beautiful flower is blooming, or I meet a good friend." She added, "My child, remember that there is always something in our lives to be grateful for. There is always something." The young man thought for a moment. "But what if something really bad happens? How do you stay happy then?" The elderly woman replied, "It's not easy. It's never easy. But I remind myself that everything good or bad passes. Bad times don't last forever. So when something bad happens, I tell myself, this too shall pass. Just be patient, and it will pass. And in the meantime, I try to learn something new every day. I try to think differently, do things differently, and learn from it." Narrator. And that is how the elderly woman found the secret to happiness. By choosing to see the good in every day, even when life seemed tough.